If you're like me, and especially an introvert like me, there's a certain uneasiness that comes from the relationship with social media. And believe it or not, Buckminster Fuller comes to the rescue and maybe gives me and you a solution, a slight release from that tension. But let's talk about the tension first. And I do not know of a better way to represent that uneasiness except with this simple thought loop that happens when I think about posting or not posting something on social media in general. And it goes something like this. Should I post something on Instagram, Facebook? Why? So that my friends can see what I'm doing? Why would they care really? And what do I want to achieve? Do I just want to show something interesting or brag about my life being better than it is, showing only the highlights as most people do? I mean, what's the point at all? I should just delete the account. But everyone says that a personal brand is important, especially if you have a business like I do. So people maybe want to connect to the person behind the business. Okay, so how do I develop this personal brand? I guess I need more followers, right? That's the currency. And the internet says you have to post every day in order to do that. So what am I going to post? Images from my computer, nature, buildings? That's so boring. And today an AI can generate an infinite number of those images. So I guess I should post myself. That's unique. So just what? Pictures of myself with some inspirational quote from the internet at the bottom? Anyone can do that. So I guess I should maybe talk, make a video like this, saying something interesting. But that's hard, that's invasive as well. I'm too exposed, and what am I going to talk about every day? Come up with some interesting thing every day? I'm not that interesting. Should I cheat like some people do and Google stuff, or maybe just ask ChatGPT to give me something interesting to say? This all does not make sense. I have to delete the profile. But wait, remember, personal brand can help with the business, which subsequently pays your rent, feeds your children. Don't do it. So that's one version of a loop. So there are, of course, many other parts of it and different variations of it, but that's the gist. It feels cheap and too exposing, and at the same time too egoistic somehow to post something of yourself. But on the other side, building followers seems important in order to establish your brand, productize yourself. So how does exactly Buckminster Fuller solve this for us? 2 words. Dimension chronophile. Assuming that your reaction is not, of course, but more in the direction of what? Let me explain this not so well-known fact about Bucky. He kept a journal, and not any kind of journal. It was basically a scrapbook. And if you wonder what's so special about that, well, when he was about 25 years old, he decided he will document what he's doing every 15 minutes of his life. And he kept doing that for the next 63 years. From 1920 to 1983, he created the most documented life in human history. And let me hit you with some Wikipedia numbers. Dimension chronophile contains 140,000 pieces of paper, almost 20 kilometers of film, 1,500 hours of audio, and 300 hours of video recordings. And I know Gary Vee tells you to post on social media 6-7 times per day. But who knew that there was an OG way before him? So why Bucky? Why? Well, he thought it might be useful, and not only to himself. According to Wikipedia, Rebecca Lemov wrote, at a low point in his life at age 32, when Fuller reviewed his chronophile to that date, he concluded that he had been most effective when his efforts were on the behalf of others, and resolved to focus his future work toward all humanity. Now we know this, and we heard it a gazillion times online from fake gurus and real gurus, that if you want to be truly happy, do something for others and not for yourself. So Bucky's theory was that if he keeps an accurate record of how he's living his life, and at the end of that experiment we can see the results, we could look backward and extract lessons and tips. And the important part is when he says, it meant that I could not be judge of what was valid to put in or not. I must put everything in, so I started a very rigorous record. So that's very important. If he starts to curate and show only the highlights of his life, that's not a valid experiment and the data is not useful. So Bucky tells me and tells you, do not be afraid to post. It can help not only you, but humanity as well. But you have to be honest. It does not have to be every 15 minutes, but it should have some logic to it and relevance to your life. But stop. Wait a second, let's say I do want to post every 15 minutes or even every 2 hours. Who is going to make sense of all those images? Will that not just be an overload of boring stuff? You cannot be interesting 20 times per day? Well, if we did not have an answer in the days of Buckminster Fuller or the early days of Instagram, now we do. AI. And here is the second piece of the puzzle. You might have heard of Ray Kurzweil, the famous futurist who made and still makes successful predictions of the future. He talked for decades now about how he wanted to have a conversation with his long-gone father by sort of recreating him using AI. Now with the rise of GPT-3, ChatGPT, and very soon other iterations, we know that that is possible. For an AI to take a large body of text, whether it is saved as literal text or extracted from video or audio recordings, and then make sense of it, create a profile of a person from it and give answers as if they were them. Now, aside from the fact that there are many companies and apps that actually make these attempts, it is absolutely certain already today that if you have someone's thoughts well documented, that you could create a highly accurate replica of them using AI. Why hasn't someone done that with Buckminster Fuller yet? I don't know, but we're waiting for it. So now if you fall in the camp of people who say this is scary and that this is exactly why you shouldn't post because it is dangerous that someone could recreate you, then you might be right. But then will you help the world learn from your experiences? It's a tough choice. Horace Mann famously said, "Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity." And that takes courage. And no one said that it will be easy and without sacrifice. So there is no definite answer here about what you should do, but what I like is that, for me at least, knowing this story about Bucky gives me a sense of relief about the decision to post, whatever it is. Knowing that if you do decide to post, it is not only for shallow, self-serving purpose, you could seem braggy and try to gather followers, but at the same time you could actually be helping future generations with your knowledge and with your experience, documenting. I guess time will only tell. And what will I do? Well, in the description I left the links for my social media accounts and, well, you can find out for yourself. Stay free.